His visit to India as Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump had a consequential bilateral on the sidelines of the G7 summit. We're going to get you all the details on the show today. Stay tuned.
Also on World DNA, what's happening in West Asia? US and Iran have signed a deal meant to end the West Asia war. Under the memorandum, the United States will begin removing its naval blockade and related restrictions, while Iran will facilitate the safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, free of charge for an initial 60-day period. There's lots more in that memorandum. We'll bring you all the details on the show. Let's start with the headlines.
The oil waivers.
Yeah, I may put them back on. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that oil stayed as low as possible.
G7 leaders say they are increasingly united on stepping up pressure on Russia over the war in Ukraine, with signs of a tougher stance from US President Donald Trump, who indicated that he may impose sanctions on Russia.
You signed the deal?
You signed the
MOU? It's signed, yeah. You signed? You signed it. You signed. Why did you sign it?
Donald Trump and Iran's president signed a deal to end the West Asia war, with Iran agreeing to dilute its enriched uranium in return for large-scale economic relief. Trump signed document during a dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron.
It's appropriate that we release the agreement, and we did send a copy to Israel, by the way. They've been a good partner.
Donald Trump says US has shared its Iran peace accord with Israel at the G7 summit. He defends ties with Israel but criticizes its military actions in Lebanon, urging more restraint.
Pakistan's Prime Minister says the US-Iran deal to end the war will take effect immediately, with Iran reopening the Hormuz Strait and US lifting its naval blockade. He adds that Pakistan, with Qatari support, will host the ceremony in Switzerland to mark the agreement and begin technical talks.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in Paris for the final leg of his France visit after attending the G7 summit in Evian. Receives a warm welcome by the Indian diaspora gathered at his hotel, calls India-France ties vital for the progress of the planet.
Several hundred people protest in Oxford after the far-right activist Tommy Robinson speaks at the Oxford Union in a debate on Islam. The motion argued that the West is right to be suspicious of Islam. The event had been postponed earlier over security concerns.
Federal Reserve under new Chair Kevin Walsh held interest rates steady but signaled a tougher stance on inflation, with policymakers now leaning towards a possible rate hike later this year. Trump responded calmly, saying, "It's all right, whatever."
Ghana began their 2026 World Cup Group L campaign with a late 1-0 win over Panama, thanks to a stoppage-time goal from Kayab Irinchi. Victory puts Ghana level on 3 points with England. US President Donald Trump said that he had a very good conversation with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in France, adding that the two countries are working on trade deals.
And the meeting took place after the conclusion of the G7 summit. Trump added, and he called Modi a tough negotiator and praised the Indian Prime Minister repeatedly. Well, Prime Minister Modi told US President Donald Trump that the safety and security of lakhs of Indian seafarers is of paramount importance to India, highlighting New Delhi's concerns.
over the recent attacks on vessels in the Gulf carrying Indian crew members. Several vessels carrying Indian crew have come under attack in Gulf waters in recent weeks as the US enforced its blockade on the Strait of Hormuz and Iranian ports. In one such attack, 3 Indian sailors were killed in a US strike.
एक्सेलेंसी आप जानते हैं कि मैरीटाइम ट्रेड की दुनिया में भारत के लाखों सी फेरर्स आज दुनिया के अलग अलग समुद्र में अपनी सेवाएं दे रहे हैं, विश्व की प्रगति में बहुत बड़ा योगदान दे रहे हैं और मैं समझता हूं कि उनकी सुरक्षा भी उतना ही महत्वपूर्ण है। एक्सेलेंसी, समझौते के लिए शांति के प्रयासों में आपने भरपूर प्रयास किया है। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि समझौते में सी फेरर की सुरक्षा भी सुनिश्चित होगी और उसको प्राथमिकता मिलेगी।
It's a rough profession, there's no question about it, and we work together on it. This has been happening throughout time, but we work together on it. Yeah, certainly. We love all of those people. They're great people.
The Indian Prime Minister praised the American president for his efforts to bring peace in West Asia. He also stressed on the opening of the Hormuz Strait. Listen to this.
एक्सेलेंसी, आप और हम सभी इस बात से सहमत हैं कि हॉर्मुज का खुला रहना एक वैश्विक अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए बहुत ही अनिवार्य है। एक्सेलेंसी, हम हमेशा कहते रहे हैं कि फ्रीडम ऑफ नेविगेशन सुनिश्चित होना चाहिए और इस पर हम सब ने मिलकर के बल देना चाहिए।
President Trump offered a strong public endorsement of India, saying the United States would come to the country's aid if it were attacked, while Prime Minister Modi remained in office.
Great relationship. I can tell you this, without having a contract, we don't have a contract, you'd have to write contract, but if they were attacked, we would be there to help them. How is that? Is that a good statement? Okay, come here, man. If anybody attacks that man, we're going to be there.
Well, during his interaction with reporters, WION's correspondent Siddhant Sibul asked President Trump when he would visit India next. And this is what he had to say. Listen in.
You go to India, and how do you see Quad as well? This is a grouping that was started under your first term, and this is a grouping that all the 4 countries are looking forward to.
Well, we had a great visit last time in India. We opened up that new stadium, and I think there were 400,000 people. It seated like about 150,000, and there were 250,000 outside, and there were 100,000 on the grass. That was, I don't know if that record's ever been broken, but I had a great time in India.
And continuing that conversation with WION answering another question on energy deals between India and the US, President Trump said that India can do anything with the US. Listen to this.
How do you see energy cooperation? India is diversifying, buying more energy from across the world, including United States. I'm Siddhant Sibul from WION. How do you see India buying energy from you?
India can do anything they want with us. We have the best relationship. We cannot be closer than we are. Would you say that, sir? I don't think we can be any closer. Both him and I and our nations, but it really starts with the two of us. We cannot be closer.
There may have been some frostiness in ties between India and the United States, but the camaraderie between the two leaders, it was on display during their bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the G7 summit. This was the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders after 16 months. Now remember, Trump had labelled India a hellhole and a dead economy.
Well, US had imposed stiff tariffs on India for several months, but the meeting turned into a praising session for PM Modi, with Trump describing the Prime Minister as a tough trader who loves Indian people, a beautiful person and also as nice as an angel.
And for more on this, our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibul, has sent us this report from Evian Le Bon in France. Listen to this.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Donald Trump held a key bilateral meeting yesterday. And this bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the G7 summit essentially focuses on how both sides can find convergences when there have been irritants in the relationship. Of course, the Indian Prime Minister emphasized on safety of Indian sailors at a time when 3 Indian sailors have died after US military attacks off the coast of Oman. The US side, of course, focused on the trading aspect of the relationship, with both sides working on a trade pact. Possibly very soon, both sides will announce a trade pact in a matter of few weeks. But the element that was well present in that bilateral meeting was that a commitment has been there by the Indian side, by the American side, that this relationship is an important relationship and both sides are willing to invest further in this relationship. Sudhan Sibal for WION.
And in other news, the United States and Iran have signed a deal which is meant to end the West Asia war.
It's a 14-point agreement and it includes an immediate and permanent cessation of military operations, including in Lebanon, and a pledge to conclude negotiations on a final deal within 60 days, extendable by mutual consent.
Now, under the memorandum, the United States will begin removing its naval blockade and related restrictions, while Iran will facilitate the safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, free of charge, and this is for an initial 60-day period.
The document also outlines plans for the phased lifting of sanctions, the release of frozen Iranian assets, treasury waivers for Iranian oil exports, and a US program for Iran worth at least $300 billion.
Under the deal, Iran reaffirmed in the memorandum that it will not develop or acquire nuclear weapons. The agreement also provides for discussions on the future of Iran's enriched uranium stockpiles under the supervision of the International Atomic Energy Agency.
Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei said the document was finalized with the signatures of the presidents. Trump put his signature to the document during dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron at the G7 summit.
It's signed, yeah. We signed? We signed it in precise. Why we signed it?
Trump's decision to end the war, in which 13 U.S. service members were killed and large stockpiles of ammunition were depleted, it has unsettled some of his own allies.
Well, U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy, a member of Trump's Republican Party, was particularly scathing. He noted that Iran's nuclear ambitions were not curbed, and they have learned that threatening the Strait of Hormuz works.
Earlier, Trump threatened that he was prepared to bomb the hell out of Iran if they violated the agreement. Listen to this.
And by the way, if they don't honor the agreement, or some things aren't even mentioned in the agreement, it's a memorandum of understanding, but we have an understanding of certain things without writing it. And if they don't honor that, we'll probably go back to bombing them until they honor it. You know, it's amazing what bombs can do.
And for more details on this, our U.S. correspondent Susan Tehrani sent us this report from New York.
At the G7 summit in France, President Donald Trump strongly defended his Iran deal, portraying it as a way to prevent a wider regional war and avoid global economic turmoil. Trump argued that continued conflict risks disrupting energy markets and harming the world economy, saying he did not want to preside over an economic catastrophe. He emphasized that the agreement's core principle is that Iran will never obtain a nuclear weapon, and said that the next phase of negotiations would address technical details. But Trump also issued a strong warning, saying that this memorandum of understanding is just that, rather than a final agreement, and saying that if Iran fails to comply, the United States could go back, quote, shooting and resume military action. The message is that diplomacy remains the priority, but Washington is also keeping pressure firmly militarily. Now, will he be able to sell this deal to the American public? Well, we'll have to wait and see, but it appears that the world leaders who were at the G7 summit, they were content. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has suggested that Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham could be given a cabinet role if he wins the Makerfield by-election.
While Starmer described Burnham as a huge asset to the Labour Party as he tried to push back against a possible challenge to his leadership after Thursday's vote. Speaking from the G7 summit, Starmer said that he would fight any leadership contest and warned that a change at the top would be a bad thing for the country.
Well, I don't think there should be a leadership election. I think that the last government proved that parties that spend their whole time in leadership elections don't go on to win the next general election. I would also say this, that Andy Burnham is in this by-election. I want him to win. Our activists, our members are up there campaigning for him. That is a good thing. If he does win, we've immediately got a Manchester mayoralty to fight, and that starts straight away. And it's very important to us that we win that.
Burnham is widely expected to challenge Starmer for the Labour leadership if he wins the seat and returns to Parliament. Under election rules, a victory in Makerfield would mean Burnham would have to step down as Greater Manchester Mayor, triggering a mayoral by-election expected by the 6th of August.
Hope is in the air. Can you feel it? Yeah, definitely.
The comments came as Labour MP West Streeting said that he could trigger a leadership contest after the by-election. Streeting resigned as Health Secretary last month but said that he had delayed any challenge to give Burnham a chance to enter the race. Speaking to BBC's Newsnight, Streeting said that he would prefer Starmer to make a decision himself rather than force him. Burnham to others could trigger a contest.
Now, the Makerfield by-election is being closely watched across British politics. Around 77,000 voters in the constituency will decide the outcome of a contest that could influence the future of the Labour leadership. Opinion polls suggest Labour holds a lead of between 5 and 12 points over Reform UK, though polling in individual constituencies can be uncertain.
The right-wing vote is expected to be divided between Reform UK and Restore Britain, two parties which are led by former allies who split last year. Labour won Makerfield in the 2024 general election with a 13-point lead over Reform.
In local elections on the 7th of May, Reform won 24 out of the 25 council seats in Wigan Borough, which includes Makerfield, and that has left Labour relying heavily on Burnham's personal popularity to retain the seat now.
Well, Donald Trump's $14.2 million makeover of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, it has hit a setback.
Days after the renovation, the water has turned green again due to algae, disrupting his plan to transform the landmark ahead of the US 250th anniversary. This next story brings you the details.
This is from just a little while ago. Nice, clean water. So we're here to talk about clean, beautiful coal. That's clean, beautiful water. That's the longest pool anywhere in the world.
That is the US president gushing over his achievement, touting the renovation of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. But only weeks later, the iconic landmark is facing an old problem. The water has turned green again. A symbol of American history sits at the center of Washington, D.C. Millions of visitors come every year to see the long stretch of water reflecting the memorial. But now the famous view has changed. The crystal blue appearance that was promised after a major restoration has been replaced by a green layer spreading across the pool. The reason is algae. The Trump administration spent around $14.2 million to improve its appearance. The project aimed to improve water quality and make the landmark look cleaner and more impressive. But clearly, it is not working.
Oh, absolutely. It was 100% waste of funds. I do, however, see that the National Park Service is getting some work today, clearing out the algae.
I think it's an impossible task to actually expect that to be blue and stay blue. It may be blue they might be able to get it blue for the 4th of July, but it won't stay that way. I doubt it.
Experts say maintaining a large outdoor water feature is a constant challenge because factors like weather, sunlight, nutrients in the water, and temperature can influence algae growth.
There's also a water temperature aspect. So the warmer it gets, essentially the quicker the hydrogen peroxide burns off and the quicker the algae can rebound. So there's always going to be a rebound of the algae, and the speed with which that happens is going to be a function of temperature.
The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool has a long history. It was first created in the early 20th century and has become one of the most recognizable sites in America. It hosted historic moments, including major gatherings and national events. Now, the focus is back on keeping the landmark clean and clear. The restoration may have improved the aging system, but the latest algae outbreak shows that even a multi-million-dollar makeover cannot completely control nature. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
A chilling chapter in one of New York's most haunting criminal cases came to a close,
where the 62-year-old Rex Hauermann sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of 8 women. Well, the case came into spotlight in 2010 when investigators were searching the Sandy Scrub area for a missing sex worker. Her death was ruled as an accidental drowning, but that search accidentally uncovered a graveyard and led to Rex Hauermann.
Well, police began discovering the skeletal remains of multiple women hidden along the coastal highway. Most of them vanished in the time between 2000 and 2010. The case prompted countless podcasts, books, true crime documentaries as the search for the killer went cold.
Well, in April, the suspect pleaded guilty to murdering 7 women. He also admitted to killing an 8th victim, even though he was never formally charged in her deaths. Hauermann confessed to strangling these women, many of whom were sex workers, and dismembering some of their bodies. The confession revealed that his crime started years earlier and stretched far beyond Gilgo Beach. Now, the breakthrough came in 2022 when a renewed task force identified Hauermann as a suspect. Forensics evidence that cracked the case wide open. Detectives trailed Hauermann in Manhattan and recovered a pizza crust that he discarded in a trash can. DNA from that crust matched genetic material which was extracted from the highly degraded hair fragments found on the victim's remains.
All right, next up, let's take a look at some choicest images that are creating impact around the world.
And before we slip into a very short break on World DNA, here's a reminder to all our viewers in India that you can watch all 2026 FIFA World Cup matches on Z5. Tune in and catch all the action live.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with Diksha. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
This was not easy, says US President Donald Trump while signing US-Iran memorandum at the Palace of Versailles. French President Emmanuel Macron shares the video calling the 14-point plan a step towards lasting peace.
Donald Trump says US-Iran MOU is not final and warns that military action could resume if Iran doesn't behave or if he disapproves of the deal. At the G7 summit, he says US could return to bombing Iran if needed.
Pakistan's Prime Minister says US Iran deal to end the war will take effect immediately, with Iran reopening the Strait of Hormuz and US lifting its naval blockade. He adds that Pakistan, with Qatari support, will host ceremony in Switzerland to mark agreement and begin technical talks.
Israel approves expanding a Jewish school for settlers in the center of Hebron, a move Palestinians say breaches a long-standing agreement. Far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich announced the plan after scrapping a deal.
Sanctions on Russia, like the oil waiver.
Yeah, I may put them back on. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that oil stayed as low as possible.
G7 leaders say that they are increasingly united on stepping up pressure on Russia over the war in Ukraine, with signs of a tougher stance from US President Donald Trump, who indicated that he may reimpose sanctions on Russia.
Several hundred people protest in Oxford after far-right activist Tommy Robinson speaks at the Oxford Union in a debate on Islam. The motion argued the West is right to be suspicious of Islam. The event had been postponed earlier over security concerns.
US stocks tumbled on Fed decision day on Wednesday, with the S&P 500 posting its worst first Fed day performance under a new chair since 1994. Investors reacted cautiously, with Kevin Walsh, who made his debut as Fed chair, fueling uncertainty across Wall Street.
Ghana begin their 2026 World Cup Group L campaign with a late 1-0 win over Panama thanks to a stoppage time goal from Kayab Girinchi. Victory puts Ghana level on 3 points with England.
After wrapping up his G7 summit at WION, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Paris for the final leg of his Europe visit.
In Paris, the Prime Minister will hold further bilateral engagements and attend the Viva Tech Summit, which is Europe's largest technology and startup event. He is also scheduled to interact with the Indian diaspora at a community program.
Now, Prime Minister Modi received a warm welcome from members of the Indian diaspora upon his arrival at a hotel in Paris.
Earlier, Prime Minister Modi concluded his engagements at the G7 summit. The Prime Minister held a series of bilaterals on the sidelines over the 2 days of the summit, with the highlight being the first in-person meeting between the Indian Prime Minister and the US President in over a year.
Two of us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Friends, thank you.
Prime Minister Modi told US President Donald Trump that the safety and security of lakhs of Indian seafarers is of paramount importance to India, highlighting New Delhi's concerns. Listen to this.
And our nations, but
एक्सेलेंसी, आप जानते हैं कि मैरीटाइम ट्रेड की दुनिया में भारत के लाखों सीफेरर्स आज दुनिया के अलग अलग समुद्र में अपनी सेवाएं दे रहे हैं, विश्व की प्रगति में बहुत बड़ा योगदान दे रहे हैं और मैं समझता हूं कि उनकी सुरक्षा भी उतना ही महत्वपूर्ण है। एक्सेलेंसी, समझौते के लिए शांति के प्रयासों में आपने भरपूर प्रयास किया है। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि समझौते में सीफेरर की सुरक्षा भी सुनिश्चित होगी और उसको प्राथमिकता मिलेगी।
It's a rough profession, there's no question about it. And we work together on it. This has been happening throughout time, but we work together on it. Yeah, certainly. We love all of those people. They're great people.
Prime Minister Modi also met Ukrainian President Zelensky on the sidelines of the G7 summit. The two leaders discussed efforts to restore trade ties and exchanged views on the situation in Ukraine.
Later in a post on X, Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's support for peace in Ukraine. He wrote, and I'm quoting him here, "India will always be on the side of peace, placing the values of humanity above all."
But PM Modi also held a bilateral meeting with President of the European Council, Antonio Costa, and President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Both sides stressed on expediting signing and implementation of the India-EU FTA.
Earlier on day one of the summit, Prime Minister Modi held bilateral talks with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The meetings focused on advancing strategic, trade and defence partnerships.
For more on this, our Assistant Editor, Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, sent us this report from Geneva.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will conclude his France visit today from Paris. In Paris, he will be attending the Viva Tech and the Diaspora event. Now, when it comes to the France visit, he was earlier in Nice at WION for the G7 summit, and now in Paris. But essentially, in terms of the significance of this visit, it only shows that how India and France have come together closer and are firming up relationship further. The key outcomes from this particular visit has been on innovation, on startup, and essentially sending a message that this relationship is only going to grow in every sense possible. We know that defense has been a major pillar. India, of course, has been focusing on Make in India element of the defense, but also in terms of education, with the French side keen to get more Indian students to France to be part of the educational institutions in France. But clearly, it looks like that not only in terms of the bilateral aspect, but also in terms of multilateral aspect, the relationship is growing. It was, remember, France that invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be at the G7 summit in 2019. And since then, we know that the Prime Minister has been invited regularly for the G7 summit. Siddhant Sibal for WION in Switzerland.
A fresh twist has emerged in the controversy surrounding Lionel Messi's event in India.
Months after chaos erupted at Kolkata's Salt Lake Stadium during the Go Tour, Messi's team has reportedly written to Kolkata police blaming protocol and security lapses for the disruption and not the event organizer. In the email sent to the Vidhan Nagar police commissioners to the police official, Messi's representatives reportedly pointed to the role of former West Bengal Sports Minister Arup Biswas. They alleged that several agreed arrangements were not followed on the day of the event, and according to the communication, the approved plan did not allow dignitaries on the field. Only 3 camera operators were supposed to have access to restricted areas.
However, Messi's team claimed that the several political leaders entered the field and took part in activities that were not part of the program. The letter also alleged that several unauthorized individuals gained access to restricted zones. The communication further stated that Messi's decision to leave the venue early was linked to the presence of unauthorized people on the field and attempts to alter the agreed program.
Now, the controversy dates back to Messi's Court India tour stop in Kolkata in December last year. Thousands of fans had gathered at the Salt Lake Stadium hoping to see the Argentine football icon. Many had paid up to 14,000 rupees for tickets, but the event ended up in disappointment when Messi's appearance lasted for only a short time. According to allegations, several political leaders entered the pitch during the program.
Well, fans complained that despite paying premium prices, they were unable to get a clear view of Messi. Anger soon spilled over into chaos. Parts of the stadium were vandalized after Messi's departure. It was complete bedlam, while organizers and security personnel struggled to bring the situation under control. What was billed as an hour-long appearance ultimately lasted only around 20 minutes, leaving thousands of supporters disappointed and triggering one of the biggest controversies surrounding the tour.
All right, moving on, Japan's imperial family, the world's oldest continuous monarchy, is facing a growing succession crisis.
With just 16 members left in the royal family and only 3 male heirs to the throne, Tokyo is now moving to preserve a tradition that stretches back more than 2 millennia. Japan's parliament has advanced a plan to bring distant male relatives of the imperial house back into the royal family, a move aimed at protecting the country's male-only line of succession.
Now, under the proposal, men descended from former imperial branches that lost their royal status after World War II, they could be adopted into the imperial family, expanding the pool of potential future emperors. But the plan has sparked a national debate. Critics argue that Japan is ignoring a far simpler solution, allowing women to ascend the chrysanthemum throne.
Public opinion polls have repeatedly shown strong support for a female emperor, with many pointing to Princess Aiko, the only child of Emperor Naruhito, as a popular and capable future monarch. Yet conservatives insist that the imperial line must remain strictly male, calling it a core part of Japan's traditional identity.
Now the debate highlights a broader question facing modern Japan, whether centuries-old customs can survive in a changing society. For now, Tokyo appears determined to preserve the male line, even as calls grow louder for the imperial family to embrace change.
And central banks are making a bet on gold. Global central banks are incredibly bullish on gold and are now buying the gold dip.
Well, in this next report, we dive into the details and the reasons for gold becoming the center of global reserves. Take a look.
The World Gold Council's latest survey of 74 central banks shows 45% now plan to purchase gold over the next 12 months. That is the highest reading ever recorded, and the number has more than doubled since 2020 and marks the third straight year of increase. Nearly 9 in 10 central banks, or 89%, expect global gold reserves to rise over the next year. That is the second highest reading in the survey's history. The signal is clear. Institutions that manage the world's monetary foundations are moving away from dollar-denominated assets and into hard metal. Emerging markets are driving the acceleration. A record 53% of emerging market and developing economy central banks plan to add gold, up from 48% last year. These are the nations most exposed to dollar volatility, Western sanctions, infrastructure, and geopolitical fragmentation. For them, gold isn't a hedge, it's fast becoming a strategic necessity. The geopolitical context cannot be ignored. Since the US froze Russia's dollar reserves in 2022, central banks across the global south have accelerated de-dollarization. Gold holds no counterparty risk. It cannot be sanctioned and cannot be frozen. In a world of weaponized finance, that is an increasingly rare quality. Central banks are also buying the dip. Gold pulled back from its record highs, and rather than wait, central banks have stepped in. The floor under gold is being actively reinforced by sovereign buyers. What this means for markets: sustained central bank demand has historically provided structural price support for gold. With 89% of surveyed institutions expecting reserves to rise, the demand pipeline is widening. When nearly half the world's central banks plan to buy gold simultaneously, retail and institutional investors are also paying close attention to this trend. This seems like a coordinated, data-backed and geopolitically motivated pivot. Business Bureau, WION, World is One.
The UK's competition watchdog has ordered Google to make its search rankings more transparent as part of new rules which are designed to give businesses a fairer deal online.
And the move comes amid growing concerns about Google's dominance in the search market. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, has told Google to provide greater clarity on how its search results are ranked. Under the new requirements, Google must use objective criteria when ranking organic search results. The company must also introduce clearer complaints processes and allow users to transfer their search data to authorized third parties.
The CMA said that the changes are intended to increase fairness and transparency for businesses that rely on Google to reach customers. The regulator noted that Google handles more than 90% of search queries in the UK, giving it a powerful position in the online search market. The CMA said that many UK businesses had complained that changes to Google's search rankings they were often made without sufficient notice or explanation. Some companies told the regulator that the lack of transparency made it harder to plan investments and grow their businesses. The new rules follow an earlier CMA decision to grant Google strategic market status, which allows the regulator to impose targeted requirements on the company. The measures also build on recent rules that give publishers more control over whether their content can be used in Google's AI features. Google said its search systems are fair and they are designed to show the most relevant results, and added that it would work with the regulator to implement the changes.
Well, the company has 6 months to introduce the new ranking requirements and 3 months to enable search data portability. England launched their World Cup campaign with a 4-2 victory over Croatia.
While Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal were held to a surprise draw by Democratic Republic of Congo. Ghana scored a dramatic 1-0 victory over Panama in Group L clash. Now for Ghana, Caleb Urenki bundled in the winning goal in the 5th minute of the stoppage time. Both sides largely struggled to generate chances in the first half. The second half played out under steady rain at the Toronto Stadium but saw more sustained attacking play. However, the match looked headed for a scoreless draw until Urenki put Ghana ahead.
Now, it was a historic night for Ghana's veteran coach, Carlos Queiroz. Wednesday's fixture made him only the second coach to appear in 5 consecutive World Cups after leading Portugal in 2010 and Iran in 2014, 2018 and 2022. Earlier, England secured a frantic win despite pressure from Croatia, especially in the first half. Harry Kane struck twice before the break, but the opening 45 minutes ended all square at 2-2. Jude Bellingham and Marcus Rashford then found the net in the second half to seal the victory.
England captain Harry Kane opened the scoring from the penalty spot after being awarded a retake when the Croatian goalkeeper was ruled off his line. Croatia responded through Martin Baturina in the 36th minute, but Kane restored England's lead with a powerful header. The goal was Kane's 10th at the World Cup, drawing him level with Gary Lineker's England record. However, England's defensive vulnerabilities were exposed again when Petar Musa equalised in first half stoppage time.
England took control after the break. Bellingham produced a superb finish after surging past his marker before substitute Rashford wrapped up the win in the 85th minute with a composed strike.
Cup so
Harry
far.
Kane's getting golden boots. All these draws, and we win 4-2.
It was the best game in the World Cup so far. I'll tell you that now.
Earlier, Portugal were frustrated by DR Congo in Houston, settling for a 1-1 draw. Ronaldo matched Lionel Messi's record of appearing in 6 World Cups, but found chances hard to come by against a disciplined Congolese defence. João Neves, he gave Portugal an early lead, but Yohan Wissa headed home in first half stoppage time to earn Congo a historic first World Cup point. The achievement was particularly remarkable given the disruption caused to the team's preparations by the Ebola outbreak in their country. Several Portugal players wore black wristbands in tribute to former teammate Diogo Jota, who died in a car crash last year. And the FIFA World Cup continues to capture the imagination of fans. And one tradition in Mexico City is drawing visitors for reasons that go beyond football.
A figure of baby Jesus dressed in Mexico's national team kit. Inside Mexico City's Metropolitan Cathedral, football fans have been stopping to offer prayers and take photographs with the soccer baby Jesus. Many are hoping for good fortune as Mexico competes at the FIFA World Cup, while others are simply taking part in a long-standing local tradition.
This was not because we came up with it, but because people say, well, why not? Why don't you have it in the cathedral? Why don't you put up the baby Jesus? So that the people who come close, and especially the tourists, like we have today from Colombia who play today, well, they were here too, saying their prayers to ask for Colombia's victory.
The tradition dates back to 1970, when Mexico hosted the FIFA World Cup for the first time. Now, in Mexico, it is common for figures of baby Jesus to be dressed in different outfits symbolizing various hopes or occasions. The display has attracted not just local fans, but also visitors from countries including Argentina, Colombia, and Spain. As the tournament continues, Mexico's fans are showing their support in many different ways.
All right, next up, let's bring you latest updates from entertainment, starting with Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. It has officially shattered all-time ticket pre-sale records at London's iconic BFI IMAX. The highly anticipated film sold an astonishing 28,000 tickets in its first 24 hours alone. In London, the movie has already earned £750,000, and that is roughly $1 million. This massive haul comfortably eclipses the previous records set by Dune Part 2 and Oppenheimer.
Indian MCU fans are getting a head start. Marvel has announced that Spider-Man Brand New Day will hit Indian cinemas on July 30th, 2026. A full day ahead of its US release, and advance bookings for the movie they have officially started. Tom Holland returns as Peter Parker, navigating a world that no longer remembers him following the events of No Way Home. The movie also brings back Zendaya and Jacob Batalon.
Former child star Davy Chase, whose diverse talents brought to life the beloved voice of Lilo in Disney's Lilo and Stitch, and the terrifying presence of Samara Morgan in the 2002 horror hit The Ring, has died. She was 35 years old. Chase passed away on the 16th of June in Los Angeles after suffering complications from meningitis and a severe blood infection. All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. Thanks so much for staying with us. We'll slip into a very short break. This is WION. Come right back.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances. Power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos. to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances. Power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Vielleicht nur